Hello and welcome back to part 3 of the Death Note recap. When we last left off, Misa was imprisoned by L, and she had relinquished possession of her Death Note and lost any memory she had of it. Now we find out how L responds to that and what is Light's plan. In a foggy forest, Light relinquishes ownership of the Death Note to Rem. At the same time, the investigation team are still not getting anything from Misa. Just then, Light enters the room and begins to confess that he might be Kira unknowingly, so he requested to be confined for 50 days. His father is unhappy about this, so he requested to be confined as well. While in confinement, Light says to Ryuk about get rid of it. This is a signal for him to leave. As he does, Light suddenly has no memory of what he's doing and yells at L that he's not Kira. In a last bid to determine if Light and Misa are the two Kiras, L and Soichiro stage a stunt in which Light's father attempts to kill Light and then himself out of shame. Seeing Light and Misa's reactions to it, L intervenes and announces that he no longer suspects them of being Kira, although he is still suspicious over the fact that Misa's DNA was found on the audio tapes. Misa is released, but Light continues working on the Kira case. L and Watari move the investigation team's headquarters to a new building inside the city. Elsewhere, Rem speaks to a mysterious businessman about the Death Note. 8 businessmen then plan the next murder Kira will commit in order for the Yotsuba group to excel in the market. Aizawa faces trouble with a metal detector at the new building and has to take off his pants to enter. Inside, the team watches surveillance of Light, L, and Misa in another room. L is feeling demoralized by the lack of progress in the Kira case. Tensions rise between Light and L, and they come to blows. The team discovers that Kira's killings are now linked to a corporation called Yotsuba. Yotsuba sends a message to the police, offering to spare politicians if they stop pursuing Kira. The task force must give up their jobs to continue working with L. Aizawa is torn, but Watari informs them of a trust set aside for their families. Aizawa is upset with L for withholding this information and storms out. L introduces 2 new members, Aber and Wedi, to infiltrate Yotsuba. Meanwhile, Aizawa meets his family in the park and breaks down in tears. The episode showcases the emotional toll and difficult decisions faced by the Kira task force in their pursuit of justice. Tired of being treated like crap, Matsuda has decided to do something to prove himself of being useful. While trying to help Misa with film shooting, he abandons her so he can sneak into Yotsuba. At the same time, the Kira task force are having a problem with a detective named Iraldo Coyle, who is hired by Yotsuba to find L. It turns out L is really Coyle. He tells the team not to tell this to anyone. As Matsuda sneaks in, he eavesdrops on the meeting by the door. Soon, this door opens up, showing his presence. He is in big trouble. Watari contacts L about this, forcing the latter to change his plans for the investigation. The Kira task force bugs the Yotsuba conference room and overhears their plans for more killings. A disagreement arises between L, who wants to continue investigating to find Kira's identity, and the rest of the task force, who want to arrest Yotsuba immediately to stop the murders. Light comes up with a compromise. Pretending to be L, he calls one of the Yotsuba members and convinces him to postpone the killings for a month, promising no arrests in return. The task force gets 1 more month to investigate. However, the incident causes L to decide to work separately from his teammates, though they can still use the headquarters. L convinces Misa to help with the investigation by becoming a model for Yotsuba, emotionally manipulating Light to join his team instead of his father's group. Yotsuba group hires Misa as their spokesperson to exploit her connection to L and find his identity. Unaware that her responses are rehearsed, they interview her. Rem, disgusted with the third Kira, returns Misa's ability to see Shinigami. Rem warns Misa of the danger and reveals Higuchi's identity. As the Yotsuba spokesperson, Misa plans to expose Higuchi as Kira. She accepts his proposal for a date and reveals herself as the second Kira. Higuchi admits he's Kira too, but wants proof from Misa. She kills a loan shark as evidence, recorded as proof. The actual killing is done by Rem, who has been following the couple. Higuchi, who left his Death Note at home, accepts to stop the killings for a week to prove his identity. Unbeknownst to Higuchi, Misa has recorded his conversation and has proof that he is the third Kira. The task force discovers Kyosuke Higuchi is the third Kira and plans to expose his killing method. L arranges a TV show where Matsuda pretends to know Kira's identity. Kyosuke falls for the ruse, but unable to kill Matsuda, he desperately seeks Misa's help. When he can't find her, he goes after her ex-manager, unaware it's a setup by the task force. Kyosuke's car is bugged, and he's being followed by Wedi. He then heads for the studio to find the file with the real name. Kyosuke finds the file with Matsuda's name as Misa's manager, but realizes it's fake when he writes it down in his death note, and Matsuda does not die on the air. Desperate, Kyosuke makes a deal with Rem to get Shinigami Eyes. What he doesn't know is that the Kira task force is watching him through the bugs, although they are very confused when they see him talking apparently to himself and writing down a name without doing anything else to kill Matsuda. Kyosuke, in desperation, leaves for the TV studio to take a look at Matsuda and find his real name. On the way, he kills a policeman that stopped him for speeding, and the task force realizes he can now kill with faces alone, like the second Kira. They immediately mobilize to stop him before he can kill Matsuda. When Kyosuke reaches the studio, he finds 2 mannequins and a pre-recorded tape instead of Matsuda and the interviewer. He is then confronted by 4 members of the task force wearing face-concealing helmets. Kyosuke manages to escape and get in the car, but he is stopped by a police blockage led by Aizawa. With the help of the police, the Kira task force takes Higuchi into custody. L questions Higuchi about his method of killing, and Higuchi tells L about the death note. As Soichiro picks it up, he yells out in fear. He can now see Rem. Mogi does the same thing. L tells Mogi to give him the notebook, which allows him to see Rem, and causes him to drop the death note in shock. As Light picks it up, he screams. All of his memories as Kira come flooding back to him, and he remembers his entire plan. He used both death notes to set up a fake Kira, absolve Misa's role as the second Kira, and clear himself to boot. Light's sudden calmness and curious nothing-happened behavior after the scream raises L's suspicions but forgets all about them when Higuchi dies at the scene. Courtesy of Light, the death note, and a quick bit of writing with blood. The Kira task force returns to home base, convinced Higuchi was Kira. They investigate the second death note and finds its list of rules, along with a fake rule Light wrote into the book that says a death note user must kill once every 13 days or die themselves. Light's plan goes into full effect when he asks Misa to retrieve the first death note. Once she becomes the owner of Ryuk's note, she asks Ryuk for another set of Shinigami Eyes so she can figure out L's true identity. L questions Rem about the death note, but she avoids giving away too much information. She doesn't want to implicate Light or Misa. L tells Light that the former has absolved the latter of any involvement with Kira, just as Misa starts going on another killing spree. Light denies Misa's involvement in these new Kira killings, but L remains suspicious. Rem, on the other hand, figures out Light's plan. He goaded Misa into the second Shinigami Eyes deal and let her start killing again to endanger her life. A short time later, Light finds L on top of headquarters. The latter laments his lack of connection with other people. When the two rejoin the rest of the task force, L reveals that he plans to arrest Misa again so he can test the 13 days rule of the Death Note. Just after he reveals his plan, Watari dies and tries to warn L. But the warning comes too late. Rem, in her last act, kills L to save Misa's life. L dies in Light's arms as Light gloats with a single smirk, knowing L can't do anything about it. Light finds Rem's ashes in the lower levels of the building and snatches away her death note before anyone else can find it.